Yo, what is going on, guys? This is the Jae Grind podcast. You already know it's Jae Grind from the BX. So listen up. So we have a special guest. You know what I'm saying? We're not going to say too much. We're going to dive right into it. Her name is Ashley Tallafierro. I said it right?
Yep, that's correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
So shout out to Ashley Tallafierro. Ashley, let everybody know who you are and things like that. Welcome to the show.
Yeah.
Um,
Thank you so much for having me.
yeah, it's definitely an honor. Um,
Mhm.
so I'm glad that you joined the Jae Grind podcast. So today. Um, just let the fans know a little bit about yourself.
Absolutely. So, like you said, my name is Ashley Tallafierro. I am a writer, director. I produced a couple of plays as well, and I just did my first film last year. And I'm also a stay-at-home mom as well. So I'm used to work within corporate America and HR, but now, like I said, I'm a stay-at-home mom, and I'm really just appreciating the different aspects of life that God has been bringing me through with not just being a wife, but also a mother. I have two boys. I just had my second son, Zion, 4 months ago. So just experiencing two little boys and being able to be responsible of their life while continuing to walk in my gifts and then my calling as a wife and just a child of God has been an amazing and both learning and edifying experience that I'm happy to share.
Okay. So, Ashley, Miss Taliaferro, married woman of God. There was something that you did talk about you being a director, you
Mm-hmm.
being an artist, and so tell me a little bit of like what is your history behind that? Like,
Mm-hmm.
what got you started into that? What is like what happened? What was the transition? What
Absolutely.
made you want to do it?
Absolutely. So that's a great question because a lot of people don't know this, but when I was younger, I actually didn't want to go into the arts. I wanted to be a scientist. So I really loved science, and I liked school. Period. But I felt kind of out of place because even though as much as I loved science and the sciences, uh, I I didn't really feel like I belonged because there wasn't too much room for me to technically be creative. It was very like analytical thinking, and I feel like I bounce in between both sides of the brain, left and right, the creative and analytical side, and I just didn't feel like as much as I loved it that it was really me. And so growing up, I my mom always pushed me to do all these different type of artistic things that she saw I was gifted in. So whether that would have been writing something for the church, which both my parents are pastors, or if that would have been singing a song, or if that would have been doing a dance. That's how I learned a lot of doing choreography. I did go to dance school, but doing choreography for the church, so on and so forth. I realized that I really enjoyed these things, but then I felt like I had a place. I felt that was somewhere that I fit because I was able to utilize all the gifts that I had in a way that was kind of in one focus, as opposed to being like all around. So when I was 12 years old, that's when I first wrote my first play. Well, I guess you could call it a skit more so. It was only like about 6 scenes, but it was my first play that I had written, and it was for my parents' church. And a lot of the adults that were in it were kind of like not taking it really that seriously. Just they had when we were performing it, they all had their scripts and was reading from the script, and I was so frustrated by it. Like I literally after the play, everybody did their claps, their bows, and I was like, "Thank you to all the people that actually decided to learn their lines and perform properly." And all the adults were like, "What?
Mm,
Who is this little girl getting smart with?" But I didn't even think of it as being smart. I felt like at that point, it kind of just piqued that director interest where I wanted to see the. Not only did I love being able to do that, but then also I wanted to see the show being performed to its highest extent. And I was really disappointed that, the people who were in it didn't take it seriously. But my mom used that as a catalyst to see that this was something more for me than just like a hobby outside of my scientist dreams. And she actually was a big part in fueling me to keep moving forward in the arts. And that's kind of where it sparked um, to where I am right now.
wow. So that is crazy. So that guys, that is a fun fact. She actually before she wanted to get into acting and music, she had an interest in being a scientist. What drew your interest in being a scientist, which is pretty cool. Pretty cool to know.
Yeah. I still love science. Like I'm still like geeked into that stuff, but I don't want to build a career in it. Obviously, like I
I mean,
want
like, what drew you to it?
to. Hmm?
What drew you to like want to be like a scientist or things like that before
So
music?
my grandfather had got me a lab kit when I think I might have been like 7 or 8 years old, I think. And there was just different chemicals that I would be mixing together, different combinations that I would be working with, and I just really like that aspect of learning about nature, how things work, molecules, and then going into matter and how everything is made up of that, and so on and so forth. And I really enjoyed chemistry. Even like that young, I'm learning things like, okay, gold is AU, or stuff like that, just the
Mm,
periodic table. But it was so interesting to me. I love to learn. Even within this industry, I love to learn from other artists such as yourself or other people I'm able to connect with. And so
yeah.
yeah, for sure. And so um within science, it just really interested me. But it's like, as much as I was interested in it, even though like I was pursuing it, it felt like a hobby. Like it didn't feel like something that I was like, yo, this is my purpose, this is my destiny. It wasn't
Mm,
until I got into the arts that I kind of had that eureka moment, and I'm like,
mm,
wow, I really love to do this and I want to do this.
You know what's funny? Like, so at 12 years old, you knew you wanted to be, and obviously your mother pushed you in
Yeah,
the arts.
yeah.
And so I was gonna say, from that point on, you just decided to like just stick with it throughout, your early like preteen to teenage years as an adult till now. Um, and you also stated, you make music. What was the purpose of music? I know we're gonna get back into film, but what was your purpose of making music? What's your why in that?
Yeah, so it's crazy because when it comes to music, my why, like I always love music. I'm an old soul. Like I love, like I could go back to the 1950s and find jams that I love. Like
Yeah.
that's just, who I am. Like obviously I'm a 90s baby, so that's like that era is just golden. But when it comes to music, it's simply like just to glorify God for me because when I was younger and I was developing my sound and my voice, I would always kind of like play around singing songs. And my wonderful, amazing sisters and brother would sometimes pick at me and
Yeah.
like I they were playing around, but I kind of developed a little bit of an insecurity when it came to my voice. And so for a long time, I kind of had stopped singing, and I would just do that like kind of to myself. It was kind of like my own thing. And then when I had got married, my husband would he would be talking about, oh, like I love your voice, you should sing. And I was like, oh, yeah, sure. But I didn't really have that urge to kind of like really make music. It was hard for me to like fight past it. And so my sister Faith, she had a song that she was making because she got signed to my cousin's record label, BFA. And she was like, oh, I really could hear your voice on it. I really could hear your voice on it. And I was like, what? How did you hear that? You haven't heard me sing so long, like whatever. But she was like, no, Ashley, please, like I'm begging you, like please get on this song or whatever. So the song is called Intimate Prayer, and I got on that song with her. This was like maybe like 2 years ago, so it's kind of recent. But um I got on the song with her, and like literally as I was trying to like in the studio, I literally started crying while I was there because I'm like, oh my gosh, like why can't I fight past this fear? And she was talking to me and coaching me, and she was like, listen, like what are you doing this for? Like is it just because I begged you, or like do you believe in the words? Like you wrote part of it, like me and you put this together. What is this really for? And so I was like, you know what? You're right. And so I literally had to close my eyes. My cousin was also coaching me. He was like, telling me like, Ash, like it's just you and the mic. Don't think about nobody else, whatever. And we got through the song, and from there, I feel like that was like the drop or the seed that God had put in to be like, okay, it's time to come out your shell. Like, what are you doing? I didn't give you this gift for you to sit on it. So I kept making songs and I kept making music. And then my cousin eventually signed me as well to his label. And they've been really supportive in helping me push out. And now that's something that I do quite often. I actually have so many songs that are coming out, new songs. even some songs with Jae Grind featuring. So,
No, I
all the
already
audience
know.
look out for that. Because it's coming out, the BX coming into music, But yeah, so I have that coming out too, and I really just give glory to God because I was so insecure about it that I almost kind of like pushed that away, like kind of almost forever. But thanks for God for putting the seeds in, first Hakeem and then my sister Faith and my cousin. Like it really helped to push me to even be the artist that I am today.
So you speak a lot about God. Explain your faith base.
Yeah.
Explain your faith and how it relates to music. I just want to know. That's pretty interesting.
Um.
Explain that to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, I do mention God a lot, and I just feel like it's for me personally. I know everybody has different experiences with their you know, higher faith or however that works, but it's so ingrained into like who I am and everything I do because I've just developed such a close relationship with God throughout the years of my life. Like I'm the oldest child, so I didn't really have like an older sibling or anything to kind of look up to kind of get like maybe a blueprint of like what life would look like. And I also had younger siblings that, of course they're their own people, but um, I, at times they look up to me, and so I didn't want to disappoint them and also my parents. So I used to have a lot of pressure on me, as I was saying earlier that my parents are pastors, and so I would try to hide that when I was in school a lot because people were like, "Oh, your parents are pastor. Oh, why did you do this? Oh my gosh, did you curse? Oh my, like just so much pressure to be perfect, 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 and obviously no one can be perfect. So I would constantly be letting myself down. I had so much high standards for myself that were so unrealistic, and I would kind of like just be going crazy internally, and I never really had peace with that until I came to Christ, where um and I had to come to Christ for myself because with my parents being pastors, of course, people would be like, "Oh, well, obviously you just went to Christ because like that's what you was around." But it wasn't even like that for me. Like I really experienced Him for myself, and when that happened, it transformed my life completely. I was able to not focus on so much what people thought about me or like how they expected me to be, and all I was trying to do was just please Christ. So when you go from trying to please 1,000 people to only having to please one, that's just so much rest and so much peace. And so, having experienced that, my aim for anything that I do, especially artistically, is always to try to give people an introduction to the person that gave me the most peace and most satisfaction in my life, and that starts with God. Uh, I did a lot of things that were not typically normal in today's society. I don't say this in a boastful way. This is just my personal life. But I was a virgin until I got married, and that caused a lot of issues in past relationships that I had. It also caused, some teasing and some picking, and just being able to stand strong against like everything pushing away from that was something that was really hard for me. Again, with being the oldest child, doing everything for the first time, I tried to put on a good face a lot of the times, and it was Christ that was there with me all the way through. Even some heartbreaks that I had a lot of relationships and friends that like did me really dirty, and at the time I felt I didn't have the space to really mourn or just receive that pain like most people would have. But thanks to Christ, I was able to get through that, and I felt like rest and peace and healing. And so that's why it's so influential in like everything that I do.
Well, so I would say like, you know, that's amazing, how you incorporate Christ in your life and God in your life and even in your music. Because I heard, one of my dopest songs, Win, 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 you know what I'm saying? You
Oh
gotta
yeah.
check it out. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So y'all gotta check it out, but we're gonna talk about that later. So,
Mhm.
you also explain about being married, so and also, being a virgin. So these are two topics, and then I definitely want to dive into the career more. So actually, it's going to pertain to the career. So you being, first of all, I know you briefly talked about virgin, but like being married, how does
Yeah.
that affect you in the industry with film and music?
Yeah. So at first, and like my husband's probably gonna laugh because he swears that he's not jealous, but he completely is, and that's okay. You know what I mean? So like, um, at first, like, because this is the thing, like, with our we both had trust issues when we first got together. Me, because like I experienced a lot of like cheating and everything like that, and him because he's experienced that, like, and seen crazy stuff, like, had crazy experiences on both ends. But anyway, we kind of had to come to a place because he has a perfume company called the Tallafierro, and even though he has a lot of a lot of male and female clientele, like, when it's gonna have to do with scent, more than likely it's gonna be more attractive to females. And there's definitely been some females that have been attracted to more than the perfume. And so I was kind of like, we gonna have to figure out like what's, just for the business, and then what's like kind of just for, the marriage, and, make sure that everything stays correct, basically. But
Right.
and then on my side, I'm an actress, and so it's like, of course I'm married, so I have like the utmost respect for my marriage. And at the end of the day, like, I could get offered a huge film in Netflix, and they're like, oh, you gotta do a sex scene, and I'm like, sorry, I guess, because at the end of the day I could, like, make it big, but then I gotta come back home, and if like that's not good, it's gonna affect the rest of my life. So there's that. But basically we had to come to a compromise because um there's some times where I had to have roles where I had a partner. And so we had talked about, okay, what are the limits that you say that, okay, what, I understand this is your craft, so you have to, like, at least be able to do this. And then the same for him. And so because we've been married now for almost 7 years, and we've been together for 9 years, so through that time we've been able to build trust within each other, and it's given us a reasonable allowance for our different crafts or businesses. But we definitely gotta have that talk and make sure that, we completely understood what was respectful and what was not in our eyes, to be fair to our businesses. If that answers the question.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so as a you say that you're a Christian and you said you're a director. How does that work with picking cast, and how does that help you being a Christian director? What are your goals as a
Yeah,
Christian director?
that's a great question. So every time, like, a lot of the things, especially that I write, it has a faith based aspect to it. So, but I try not to be overbearing because, like, there's a typical stigma in Christian entertainment where it's, to be frank, it's usually corny. Like, it's just like, oh, you're going through stuff, and then you pray one time, and it's like, oh, it miraculously came. Thank you, Lord. But like in life, that's not always how it is. Like, sometimes you go through a little, little grit, some things that may not be as popular or as comfortable as you might like, and that's why. For my production company, the motto is real life, real problems, real solutions. I want to use reality and show you how Christ can be beneficial in real life and in real time, not in just like these fairy tales that we call Christian movies. So I try to really push the envelope with a lot of my stuff to get past that stigma of it being kind of, corny and so on and forth. And in regards to casting, I don't just cast Christian people. There's have been people who have been agnostic, some who have been I believe Buddhist or Hindu. One of the leads actually in my last play was, I believe he's a Buddhist, or at least his girlfriend is, and he was, going along with that, whatever. Um, I'm really trying to go for talent, and I honestly believe that I want to leave a positive impact on everybody that I work with. So, like, a lot of the people that I have worked with for different plays and even films, like, we almost become like a family. Like, we'll reach out to each other, we follow each other. If I have any work, like, I throw it to my people first, and then if I got to cast out, if they're not available, then so on and so forth. But that's just kind of what I do, because also I'm also a performer, and I know how it is. And when you're first getting into the industry, you're going to do a few pro bonos. You're going to do a few things that's more so for the experience rather than for the pay. And because of that, I always want to show my actors that I believe in them. I want to utilize their skills to, the best ability, so that other directors can see them and, like, they can continue to get work. Like, I'm not, like, a gatekeeper. I never want to, like, hold on to my actors or stop them. I always want to push them to keep going and move on wherever, because that's what I would want as also a performer as well. And when casting, I'm just going by who best fits the role, the look, the demeanor, the skill. Like there are certain roles that have different levels of skill. Like if you're being I don't know, a store clerk and it's just kind of ensemble, you don't really need to have like the acting prowess of, somebody like Denzel Washington or, Cicely Tyson. But, if you're the lead role, I might need to see more skill. I might need to see more vulnerability to be able to shift into whatever persona the character is fitting. So that's usually the parameters I go about when I'm casting for a role.
Oh, so tell people where they can find you. What tell them about your business, your production company.
Absolutely. So we do have a website, which is enduranceproductionsllc.com. We also have an Instagram page and a Facebook page. Again, that's Endurance Productions LLC. Usually, if I'm having a cast.
Nice guys. You already know where y'all can find us. So we're not done. We just showing love to Ashley Production LLC. You guys, if
Yeah, thank
actor and
you.
actresses looking to get work, you guys know where
Mm-hmm.
to find her. So I want to talk about what is your latest projects? What have you been working on lately? What's been going on with that? Tell the fans.
Absolutely. So I have a new album that I'm working out on called The Call.
Mm,
It's actually kind of like a follow up to my last album I released called Greater Heights, which is available on all platforms. I'm also currently working on two stage plays. One of them I can't give the name out yet, but the one of them is called Cast the First Stone,
mm.
and that's going to be debuting in February of next year. Um, and yeah, and so I'm also auditioning and working with a few other directors for some new projects that are coming in as well. So that's kind of what I have going on.
So what would you say to an upcoming actor, an actress, or singer or artist that wants to make a name for themselves but they have fear? What would you tell them?
Yeah, I would say that your passion has to outweigh your fear, because fear is very stabilizing. It will like literally freeze you. And it's actually crazy because, again, like when I said my mom used to push me out into the arts a lot, I was extremely shy, like extremely shy. Like you
Mm,
guys wouldn't even believe how shy I was. Like most people, when they see me on stage or they see me talking, they're like, "What? You were shy?" And I'm like, "Yes, extremely." And it was the constant push out, push out, push out. I remember one time I was just sitting in church and my mom was like, "Okay, so we're gonna have Ashley come out and dance," and I'm kind of like, "What?" You know what I mean? And so I'm like so nervous as I'm going up there to the front, in front of the congregation. I'm just like, oh my gosh, why did she do this to me? But at one point I said, okay, you know what? I'm already up here, so I could just stand here and like let everybody know how nervous I am, or I could do my best and perform. And I kind of kept that mindset every single time I had to perform. I still get nervous. I've done like so many shows, so many sets. I recently did a few films, and I'm like, I'm always nervous, but people, and I humbly say this, are always telling me, "Oh my gosh, you were nervous? I couldn't tell. I couldn't tell." And it's literally just that. Like I let my passion for the craft be what goes past my fear. And also another thing that really helps me is I usually try to take on characters that I believe in, or at least projects that I believe in.
mm,
I've had to be. I worked with a director named Joe McCrae, and I had to be um, someone who was on drugs. And
mm.
so I was kind of like, whoa, this is really interesting because thankfully I've never done drugs before.
Yeah.
But I kind of pulled how I wanted the purpose of that character was to kind of emphasize how, like, societal pressure and even pressure from peers and stuff can cause people to do things that are detrimental to them. And so the passion that I had and how much I believed in exemplifying this message to the crowd is what I use to fuel to say, okay, you know what? I need to reflect this character so the message can better be understood. And the thing is that when you're overacting or when it's corny or when it's like, not done well, it distracts the people from the story because they're like, oh my gosh, this is a play. This is a film. This is a movie. But I try my best to draw people in so much that they forget that they're watching a film and almost think that they're peeking in some magic glass to somebody's life. And so that's really helped me when I'm directing and coaching my actors and when I'm acting in projects myself.
So I'm glad you said that. So, and I know you have two children, two boys. How does that affect? How does your career affect them? How does it? What does it do for them you are in your career? Like, how do you think it affects them?
Yeah, so I actually love this question because there was a time where I had to wrestle with, like I said, I used to work in HR and I actually love HR, human resources. And there was some sacrifices that I had to make. I was doing well as a human resource. What's the word? I'm losing my
Man,
train of thought. Yeah,
worker, manager,
I'll say right.
consultant. Yeah.
Yeah, all of those. I was doing well as that, but I had to decide if I wanted to. And I'm not knocking anybody who does because everybody does what's best for them. So I'm not. I'm just talking about my life, not saying anyone has to make the same choices. But I had to make a decision on whether or not I wanted to like be gone for hours of a day and let other people raise my children while I was away, or if I was gonna, raise my children. By my, not by myself. I'm married, but I mean, like, not have someone else do it. And so, usually I would work remotely, but when the pandemic happened, that kind of actually ended for me because at the time, I wasn't too comfortable taking the COVID shot. So, that kind of happened that way. But I've been very stern on being like, you know what? No, I want my kids to have access to me and like as their mom. And it's helped me artistically because, I'm home. So I can, be with them, play with them. And then it also gives me the time to, like, when they're asleep or whatever, to make sure I'm working on my craft, writing, preparing my music, so on and so forth. But it kind of took an interesting turn for my corporate career. So in that sense, I'm thankful. It was definitely like an adjustment, and I feel like life is always going to give different adjustments, but you just kind of have to roll with the punches and do what works best for you. And I'm very thankful to have the opportunity to be with my children. Obviously, of course, the help of my husband helps that because like he works, so like, and he has business, so that's kind of like what allows me to do that more comfortably. But um, still in that sense, I want them to see, what I'm doing. I want them to see how I'm pursuing, the career that I'm most passionate about and how I am taking the time to spend with them to know that they're valuable to me. Because once they leave this house and, they just become adults and go on to this world, uh, the world's not going to be, they're not going to be me. They're not going to be the mother to them. They're going to be like, they're just going to see them as black men and expect so much from them. And I want them to have the opportunity while they are young to be expressive and to feel valued and to know that like they have two parents that care for them and want the best for them, because once they get to manhood, that's it. So
Yeah,
that's how I kind of tie in what I'm doing and with them too.
that's dope. So then I want to talk about these two albums, that the one currently that's releasing and the one before. Tell me about them. What was the reason for those two releases? What was your purpose? What was your why? What do you think is what was your goal? What is your goal with those songs that you have coming out?
Yeah, so my goal is kind of to tell a story, like at the basis and just very root of who I am. It's just a storyteller, and whether I do that through music, acting, directing, so on and so forth. And with the call, I really want to tell a story in regards to the ups and downs of life. It's made to represent that I personally believe that we're all called by God, and so in that regard, there's up and downs to that, and we don't always answer the call, and sometimes we do, and sometimes we don't, and there can be consequences, lack of consequences, results, just period. And so that album kind of represents those different phases of, that call. It's not always easy. Like sometimes you're gonna be called to do something and you're like, what? Are you kidding me? No way. But it's just life. And so that's kind of what the album is meant to represent. And I really want to put this out because I feel like a lot of people may have also felt the same way, like that, life is giving them a call, or whatever higher power they accede to, that life is giving them a call and they don't know how to answer it, or they are having struggles in answering it. And so the album is supposed to represent, those people.
Dope, dope, dope. So I got a question that, kind of give you a little break. What do you think of, have you heard of Jay Grind's music?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So,
Absolutely. Yeah.
what was your favorite song and why? And how did it resonate with you?
Yeah. So, I mean, okay, so the way I met Jay Grind was in a
Ah,
film that we were doing. And so, I got to witness, a little bit of the future for him and my sister, Naomi B. And so, I actually really like the song Love is Real a lot. And it being because I feel like just obviously knowing Naomi B, it really I don't know, I feel like I can feel that, especially with witnessing like, the love between you two and just like watching it literally from beginning to end, like almost as if it was like a movie is so beautiful. So I really love that song. I'm always playing with Naomi B saying like, oh, the love is real, joy, the love is real. She'd be like, shut up. But like
yeah.
that's really that's a song that I really love because of like that backstory. It's really real for me.
Okay. Okay.
Mhm.
That's cool, guys. You see, I get the love and support. She put me out there, guys.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
so,
Yeah.
but back to you.
Mhm.
So what is the ultimate goal with your craft? So you have a production,
Mhm.
you have the music. What is the goal?
So,
What is your ultimate goal?
what my ultimate goal is just to. I mean, I'm gonna have to say the cliche here because for me, it's just like that's just what it is. But if I could just reach one person and you know, uh, one person, whether they're going through or something, and like let's say having a bad day, and they listen to this song and they're encouraged or they're uplifted, I feel like that would truly mean the world to me. I've been there, and actually, that really sparked me with the music, but then it also really sparked me when it came to my productions as well. Because when I was younger, I used to watch, and one of my favorite movies is definitely The Lion King. I say that, and I'm an adult, so people are like, "Oh, okay, that kid's movie." But when I was young, there were so many times I was battling with stuff, and and I don't want to make it sound, overextended, but just like, kids pick whatever, whatever's going on. And I would always get catharsis listening or watching The Lion King. Like it actually made me feel better. And I was like, I want to make stuff that makes people feel better, because people aren't always going to listen to a sermon or a spoken word or, maybe go get help from a therapist, unfortunately. So if like I could be like that in between help for someone, like, these different productions were a help for me, that would mean the world to me, honestly.
Well, so describe yourself in 3 words.
Okay. Goofy is the first one that comes up because, yeah. The second one I would say is kind. I feel that it is, there's so many mean people in the world, and there's not a lot of kind people. So I feel like just leading with kindness, I've learned to say things in a manner that it doesn't necessarily have to be sugar coated, but I don't want to be mean spirited ever. Like I really do try to lead with kindness and just respect. So I would say kind is one, and then intuitive. I believe that intuition is something important, especially as a woman. Your intuition is usually going to be right like 99.9% of the time. And it really helps me as a friend, a wife, a sibling, to be intuitive and to kind of understand things outside of what someone is saying or what someone is doing, so that I can get a better perspective and be a better friend, wife, mother, sibling, co-worker, so on and so forth. So I would say goofy, kind, and intuitive.
Okay. So,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's so many questions, man. Like, cause this is real
I
deep.
know.
Like, it's real deep, guys. This is great. Just knowing your why, knowing why you're doing it, and your
Yeah.
backstory is just so strong.
Thank
Last
you.
question.
I am. For sure.
Last question, because I definitely this was great.
I'm glad.
Your last day on Earth, and they
Mm-hmm.
saw all your films. What are three things that they wanted that you would think that would? What are three things that they would say about your films?
So, what I would like to be said is one, it's out of the box. I hate doing everything that, or doing things that everybody is doing. It's really annoying to me. Like I I remember one time when I was in college, my English teacher said that if he saw a crowd going one way, like running, he would just automatically go the opposite way because he said the crowd is usually going over a cliff. But
Mm.
not to say that, but I just kind of somewhat agree with that logic. I don't ever want to kind of be someone that just goes with the crowd. I like having my own mind, so I would love for people to say that it's out of the box, that it's something they didn't think of or see before. Uh, Another thing I would love to say, people to say, is that it's realistic. Like I said, our motto is real life, real problems, real solutions. I really want to just always have things that people can relate to. And I feel like for it to be relatable, it has to be realistic. So there's a lot of times I'll be talking to my family, my friends, and I will take bits and pieces of real things that a bunch of people have told me to put together a story, because I want it to be realistic. I want people to be able to feel it and see themselves within it. And like I said, if it reaches one person, I'm happy. And the last thing is I want it to be entertaining. Like I said, the Christian sector is usually super boring and corny, and I'm trying to change that. So I want them to say, "Yo, that was a good movie. Like I'll watch it again." Like they laughed, they cried. They it caused them to think. So yeah, definitely realistic. Uh, for it to be entertaining and for it to be out of the box.
Well, well, that's dope. So, uh,
Yeah.
where can, like I said, where can they find you? Where can they find your music? Where can they even get in contact with you about future casting? Let them know.
Of course. So I sometimes post on Casting Network and Backstage. I've actually just recently learned about a new platform that I'll be utilizing too, for castings. Again, EnduranceProductionsLLC.com is our website where you can, find upcoming shows or even castings. And then Endurance Productions LLC on Instagram and Facebook. I post on there as well. You can also reach out to me. My artist page is a.c.tx, where you can also reach out to me musically and artistically. I would love to connect with other artists who have similar messages, or just really want to put positivity out there. So yeah, get at me. I'm very kind. You said that was my description of myself. So very kind, very down to earth. Could hit me up. You could talk to me. Um, it's all good vibes over here.
All right, guys, you already know where to check out all platforms. She's all over there, very professional, know what she's doing. So trust me, get at her when y'all get a chance. All right. So this is to conclude the Jae Grind podcast. What an honor to have Ashley Tallafierro on the show. Please
Thank you so
follow
much.
her, check her story out. You already know BX. We in here.
Hey.